A pleasant good evening to you. Welcome to the Big Sky with your host Isaac Yami. And today is a bit weird because it's a Wednesday, but yeah, we decided to switch things up. And today we're having it on a Wednesday. It's gonna be interesting as usual. The Big Sky, where we get to explore the unlimited possibilities of aviation. And like always, I always have a co-host to share the platform with me, and I'm gonna call upon Mishael. Hi, co-host.
Hi, Isaac. Did you miss me last week? I was not here with you.
Oh yeah, we did actually, we did. But I had too much fun though. Like I had too much fun with the director. So yeah, I later on realized later on, I'm like, wait a minute, something is missing. But oh well.
Good
I hope
cover.
you're doing great.
It's okay.
I hope you're doing great. I hope you
Yes,
were
I am
itching to
good.
come
Thank
back.
you. Thank you.
Awesome. So likewise today we have a guest, and do you care to introduce our guest in the
Yes.
studio today?
So today our guest is one of my really good friends. He is from Somalia and he is working in the aviation industry. I'm just gonna tell you who he is. I'm just gonna tell you his job title because I don't want to give a lot away. I want him to tell about himself personally. He's in. So today we're going to be talking to an air transport officer from Somalia, and his name is Abdul Razak. So let's call him so we can chat.
Hello, everyone.
Abdul Rizak.
Hi,
Hello.
Razak.
Hello, Isaac. Hello, Michelle.
How how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, guys. How are you doing?
We're
We're
doing right. Good. I think you can welcome yourself and greet our viewers as well. Like just say a little bit of your bio a little bit, just a little bit. Don't
yeah.
spill it a lot, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
uh, thank you very much for Flight Wings Aviation for having me here, this talk show. My name is Abdul Rizak. I am from Somalia. Currently, I am working as air transport officer for Somali Civil Aviation Authority. I have done Masters of Aviation Management from University of Kyrenia in Northern Cyprus. So I am
Okay.
just
Yeah, little
make
bit.
it very short.
Don't give a lot, okay?
Yeah. So to begin the interview, obviously, tell us a little bit of more on your education and how you got to study aviation and everything like this. Just give us just give us a brief rundown of how that happened.
Yeah, thank you very much once again, Mr. Isaac and Michelle. Firstly, I graduated from management science, major in economics. So I was very interested in this big industry like aviation. And unfortunately, in our country, we don't have any academic institution whom are offering degrees in aviation. So I started to pursue my dreams of studying aviation management. So from economics, as you know, it's a sub part of aviation. Aviation has a lot of branches or a lot of factors who make it very strong. So economics is one of them. So a degree from economics is allowed me to be eligible to study aviation management in a University of Kenya. Also, I have done some short courses related to aviation. So all of that thing is make it me to study and to pursue my dream is to be aviator.
Okay, that's
Oh
interesting.
wow.
So, moving on to like it's a good thing, because, as in Flight Wings Aviation, we are always focusing on like the young people who want to join aviation industry. And, the first question comes like, what do we do as our bachelors? And it's nice to know that you talked about saying that it's not actually um, the aviation bachelor's that you did, and you came from like economics and then you moved to aviation industry. So it's good to know that you can choose aviation. So moving on, that you told us about that you're doing masters. Can you please tell us like about your master program, and of course you did a thesis as well. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, very interesting. My thesis, it was topic was about strategies to cope with pandemics. And during I was graduating last semester, so I my supervisor helped me. Of course, she helped me to find a very good topic that is currently addressing some issues. Research is about to address the current issues or to make some future forecasts. So we agreed to take um, a current issue, like for example, the commercial airlines, because the COVID-19 has hit it very hard, very bad to the aviation industry. So
Yeah.
my title of thesis I have done was strategies to cope with COVID-19 outbreak. What lessons we learn from the airline industry. So that title was very interesting. I worked very hard to finalize it, and finally I have defended very successfully. And it was talking about four different strategies that airlines has been used during the COVID-19 outbreak. For example, the first strategy that most airlines, commercial airlines, used was retreatment strategy or cost reduction strategy. Most of the airlines, they have grounded their fleets, they have fired out of employees, they have shut down a lot of operation centers. So most of the airlines that during the COVID-19 that I have made a short list in terms of data collection. They used a first strategy that's called retreatment strategy or cost reduction strategy. There is also another strategy that airlines has been carried out during the pandemic. It was like an innovation strategy. The airlines, most of them, they were in passenger carrying or LCC airlines. So during the outbreak or during the pandemic, because the passengers cannot travel due to government restrictions and traffic and travel ban. So they
Right.
innovate their business model into like cargo. They were transporting hygiene, face masks, and COVID-19 and vaccines, all of that things. They removed the passenger seat and they make it like a load for cargo. So that is one of the best strategies that airlines has been used during the COVID-19. One of the strategies, like for example, exit strategy, or some airlines they automatically went went bankrupt. They have gone from all the operations. Or for example, Virgin Atlantic Island in America, they shut down their operation center. So all of that I was discussing all of that strategies in my title of strategies to cope with COVID-19 pandemic.
That's a very interesting thing. I remember your topic because we graduated at the same time. So I remember at the time when I was
Exactly.
doing my final project, you were doing your final thesis as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
At the
remember
same
you
time.
really worked hard for it, and it sounds amazing. I'm definitely going to go through your thesis.
Um, I like the fact that the fact that your thesis is so relevant and you had an opportunity to actually explore a method that was very current. And then my question would be, since you didn't have a background in aviation, or you did, like you said, you did a few courses, like what led you to then decide that you're going to do aviation, provided that you were doing something else? Like, what exactly inspired you to end up choosing aviation? Let's go through that.
I
I
think
think
there's
we
a technical
lost him.
difficulty. Okay, until we wait for him, why don't you, do we have a question today?
Today we have announcements today, basically,
Great.
or
Let's
we have
let's go through
reminders.
the, let's go through those
Yes.
announcements until we wait for him.
First of all, our junior aviation course program is starting on the 13th of July, and registration is going on. And if you want to register, you go to our website www.flightwingsaviationglobal.com, and you will find somewhere where you can register from that website as well. And then we have our pilot tutorial registration going on for PPL to CPL. That's what's that again? Private
Private pilot license to
uh,
commercial pilot
commercial
license.
pilot license. Yes, these are still going on as well. And then we have, if you want to gain a new business skill, we have a self-paced risk management course also registering as well. So do not allow these opportunities to pass by. Please do grab them with all the speed that you require that's required, and you would definitely benefit from all of this. And I wanted to take this opportunity also to thank our viewers. We are on episode 8, and I want to thank the viewers who joined us from episode 1 until now. And I can see also that our subscribers are increasing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do follow us on our social media pages: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Please kindly share with your friends, share with your enemies, share with whoever, Flight Wings Aviation to the people. So, with that in mind, and as we're waiting for our guests as well, Fly Wings Aviation, we go by the motto: inspire, explore, and empower. So, yes, let us be inspired, let us be empowered, and let us benefit a lot. So, our guest is right back. Yes.
So
Great.
I'm very sorry. I have no idea what I face. Maybe it's internet problem or connection, and it's one of the very challenging thing is that the online meeting is have, because sometimes when your connection is very good, you feel interruption.
Yes, you are right. This is like the bad part about having interviews
Yeah,
online. Don't worry,
yeah,
maybe one day we'll all be sitting together in a studio and just talking face to
yeah.
face.
Yes.
Hopefully,
Before you abruptly went away, my question was on the lines of, um, you mentioned that you really didn't have much background in aviation. You mentioned something about you doing courses in aviation or something like this, but then your undergrad was in aviation. So I want you to take us through why you ended up choosing aviation at the very end. Like, why did you study something else and then you decided later on
yeah.
to venture in aviation? What happened? Can you take us through that experience?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, my background was economics, as I mentioned earlier, and just what else? The other thing that I studied was aviation, and it is yes different somehow in some conceptions. What what reason did I use it to use and to start aviation was, aviation is a very big industry and a very fantastic and very awesome. I mean, like how proper they are organized, how they. I was watching movies all the time is about relating to aviation, airlines, aircrafts, airports, pilots, air traffic controllers, all of that. They make me to feel love in the aviation industry. And in the meantime, I was always searching for. I have a passionate to look for or to search for any aviation aspect. Although my education was not related to aviation, but I personally I love to be part of that industry for the reasons I mentioned.
Okay. That's nice. That just by the movies you were inspired by. That's pretty awesome. I
Yeah,
think
a lot
according
of
to
things inspired me. A lot of things inspired me, like for example, how proper organized that industry, and they have a same uniform. I mean, standards all over the world. Aviation has standards that set by ICAO in 1944. If you look another industries like economics, agriculture, everything, every another industry, most of them they are different. They are not uniform. So all of that thing is inspired me to be a part of that team, aviation industry.
that's pretty cool.
What
So
movies
like,
can you? What movies inspired you? Like just
oh
out of
yeah, please.
curiosity.
Good question, Isaac.
What movies? What movies? Tell us so we might as well go and watch these movies. What movies did you watch and
Oh,
inspired you?
very well. Indeed, I cannot mention a name by name, but I was many movies that I watched. Most of them islands, as you know, islands coming, aircraft is, airport is, control towers, all of that thing is. I was watching very well and interesting to watch that movies. Flying aircrafts, like for example the movie, and I was a fan of the movies, most of them, the Hollywood, Bollywood, but I cannot exactly mention a movie that's all about talking to aviation, but is, as you know, every movies or every film, there is an aviation sector, like or aircraft or an airline or an airport, something like that. So all of that thing is inspired me. I watched it, and all of that thing is so. It makes me to be a part, to feel to be part of that industry.
Oh,
Awesome.
interesting.
So, moving from like your personal education and all that, now moving to your job side. We already know you're an air transport officer. I want to ask, relating to what you said before, that there's not an institute in your country, right, for aviation, like for aviation management. So, my question is just like a brief answer. My question is that, oh, if the institute is not there, then how come you suddenly wanted to work, and what made you come back to your country and work for your civil aviation authority? Like, why did you decide to come back to your country and do it like there, even though you know, like, it's not very motivated, like, there's no education regarding aviation management or aviation there?
Yeah, yeah, of course. In my country, as you know, Somalia comes from a civil war. We were trying to recover or to build any industry in, for example, the aviation industry. Our control tower or our airspace was controlling from Nairobi, Kenya, our neighboring country. In
Yes.
2017, the government of Somalia successfully relocated the airspace control from Kenya to Somalia. Indeed,
Right.
there was no any formal or academic institution or providing aviation, like aviation management or aeronautical engineering or pilot or whatever aviation related to. So I tried to search online courses to find masters, bachelor degrees, diplomas in the Google, and I found out a master's program from University of Kenya. There's a lot of universities whom are offering education in terms of degrees, masters, PhDs, diplomas, all of that. So that that reason, I started to make online applications for the universities, and the University of Kenya accepted my admission to study a master's program in aviation management. So in so when I finished my education, I told myself to come back to my country and contribute what I have studied to the field, aviation field.
Wow.
As you know,
Yes.
there was a coincidence when I was graduating and the COVID-19 pandemic. It comes together. So, in the government of Somalia, especially the Somali Civil Aviation Authority, they required to reform all the policies related to regulations of aviation. ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, they provide assistance or help to governments like Somalia. They provide a project called Somali Civil Aviation Recovery Task. So that recovery task, they will reform the guidelines, the economic regulation, how the COVID-19 strategies to cope with islands, strategies to develop a new initiative in terms of aviation industry, because aviation, the COVID-19 has hit very hard the aviation industry.
Of
So
course.
I was a part of that contribution. I came back, what I have studied, I came back to the field. I started to work to Somali Civil Aviation Authority in the Department of Air Transport.
Wow. That's really nice that you wanted to come back and give your country what you gained from outside and abroad. That's really patriotic.
Um,
Thank you very much.
um, I also admire that the loyalty you have for your country. And now my question would be then, how does one apply to be an air transport officer? Like, what do you go through? Like, what's required? And take us
Yeah,
through that.
yeah, very good. Requirement is for one to apply air transport officer or airworthiness officer or something called aviation security officer or facilitation officer. Most of them, they are the same. Firstly, important thing is if this person is qualified, if he can do this thing, no matter if you have experience or not, but if you are capable or if you are qualified to do these things. So the most important thing is ICAO has standards, compliant standards that the government is or the cities will follow it. So what thing is one who is looking to apply for air transport officer like me, it will that person, that student or that person will adjust his reflection to the department he is looking to work in. For example, aviation management is a very broad department. And there is a finance department, HR department, admin department, air transport department. So all of that thing is with your qualification, what you studied from the university or from the school or from the online things will make you to be eligible or qualified to study to be a part of that position or to apply that position.
Okay. So like regarding this air transport, thank you for telling that because again we're coming back to like flight wings aviation. People, we have high school students who are always asking what is the requirement, how do we apply for this position, how do we apply for that position, and all that. So it's good that you told us that sometimes experience is not asked, but they ask that are you qualified to do
Yes.
that, can you do that. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming back to you personally, you are an air transport officer. So I want to ask, can you tell us about your job description? Like, what does an air transport officer do?
Yeah, the air transport officer job description or role is first the air service agreement is the most important thing is because as you know government is they have what is called bilateral air service agreements. For
Yes.
example, if Somalia and Pakistan or another country wants to make commercial operations, there is a team called air transport who are responsible for negotiating between these two states. and how the service can be delivered efficiently, and schedule of the airlines, number of airlines, what will be the rule of the what will be a rule between these two governments, like for example the regulation or liberalization, how many flights that can be make, like twice flight per week, or everyday flight, or every flight every week, weekly flight, something like that. Can you hear me? Hello?
We cannot. We
Yes, we
cannot.
can.
Yes,
We
we can hear
can
you.
now,
Yeah,
but then before.
yeah. So the also the officer is responsible for flight approvals or permissions. And as you know, and all airlines in the world, they have a registration from governments, from their nations. If they are flag carriers or private airlines, whatever they have registrations from the government. So that government or that island will request before the flight, before they enter to the Somalian airspace or another country's airspace, they make a request if they can enter that airspace. So that request it is in advance. It is like normal. It's 48 hours and for the flight, and sometimes it is like emergency flight that doesn't need a criteria for timing. So air transport officer is responsible for that operation to handle. Sometimes you see a very emergency flight that needs to give a permission urgently.
Yes.
Sometimes you see you will face a case like a special flight, like for example they are carrying cargo things or mission flights to the humanitarian aid. Sometimes you will face a direct flight from another country. For example, you will see in overflight, there's two types of flights: landing and overflight. The overflight is they will not land in your country, but they will use your airspace, that islands.
Airspace.
So that flight, yes, your airspace. That flight, it can be diplomatic, like a presidential flight, or a prime minister flight, or a very high level flight or person. So at the meantime, they can say to you, we need urgently a permission to enter your airspace. So we have a team. We work 24/7 in that office. We work 24/7 because we can face a very special flight, a very urgent flight, or very emergency flight. So in normal operations, we work 24 hours every week, 24 hours. So
Wow.
yeah, so in the meantime, you will give the permission to enter your airspace. Otherwise, it can be a violation of airspace. So in order to not happen that thing, we make we made an online application for the airlines to apply for the permission. That is the schedule for. And also we develop an online application for the airlines in order to get approval from the system. Automatically they will get the form, they will fill it, and they will submit it. Then we will seal and sign it to enter the Somalian airspace. So all of that operations are transport analysts.
Yes, it's okay now.
So
We
a
can't
lot of
hear
call is
you.
interrupting me. Yeah. So I said all of
Okay.
that cases we handle very every day, and I'm very sorry. A lot of calls interrupting me. I'm using my cell data because the wireless is very weak here.
It's okay. Okay, so
He was talking about his. He was talking about the the job description itself, and airspace and everything like this. Um, I
Yeah,
wanted to understand what were the challenges when you were starting this career. Did you face any challenges on how and to understand all of these things? Like, take us through that. Like,
yeah,
challenges that you met
yeah,
whilst when you, especially in the
exactly.
beginning of the job.
Yeah, indeed, I started this work almost 3 months ago. On March, I started March. So everything that you are starting or you are learning has challenges. I was even making some mistakes in terms of the flight approval list, but also I have some of the team whom are assisting me. The challenges I cannot mention all of them here, but there are some challenges because when you come from an academic institution, all you know is theoretical knowledge. You have never seen a flight approval or a permission of a diplomatic flight. One mistake that you did will cause a very high problem to that flight or to that even country. So, although I did not make that mistake or for diplomatic or presidential or whatever flight permission, but I was somehow mistakenly getting wrong the formats of the work, some descriptions, and some tasks improperly. But always I have my supervisor. When I think I am not doing very well, I was every time going to my supervisor. My supervisor will check it. Sometimes he said you are right, go on. Sometimes he's saying it's not properly what how we handle this case, so we will show you another way to handle it.
Um, Going back to like your job description, the second position that you were asking that you were telling us about, sorry, you were talking about like how your office or your team, they give flight approvals and permits. So, like at the time of an emergency, if an emergency happens, how does your office handle that situation? How do you tackle that situation, like if suddenly an emergency occurs?
Good in emergency in aviation. I think you are very familiar to emergency landing.
Of
Something
course.
called emergency landing.
Of course.
Emergency landing, it's not necessary to make a request or any formal application because it is a very emergency. Maybe the aircraft crashes or the engine is in problem. They need emergency landing. So they will not contact it to air transport department. They automatically contact it to the control tower or the what is called flight information center for Somalia. Or every country has a flight information center. So and that control tower, the control tower will give emergency landing for that island or for that aircraft. So in that emergency case, when the emergency landing happen, we will make an application after the emergency landing. So sometimes there can be emergency flight approval for special flights or some countries it can happen with a problem. They will transfer to Somalian airspace. So at that time we give emergency application form because it is not emergency landing for technical problem. It is just for food transfer. So we handle the emergency flight operations like that way.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Um, can you? I believe your work is very dependent on how the team is structured. Like you speaking about how the control tower and everything. I believe there's so many things that are like attached to the success of how the flight would go about and everything. What do you think is the key element that makes the team work properly? Like which part of the element or which element brings the team together? Because I'm thinking control tower, pilots, and all of these things. Like, what's bringing all of these? What's bringing all of these to become a successful um, endeavor? Like, take us through
Yeah,
that. Like, working with other people,
there.
and how does that work? And
Yeah, it is like a network, a very network that I control tower and metrology, and I transport. All of them, we work together as a team, and we have one slogan and call it, and no one left behind the initiative, because we, as a Somalian Civil Aviation Authority, we get our control, our airspace control from in 2017. We have almost 4 years. We are controlling 4 years our control tower, and we are going to upgrade our airspace. So, as a team, our slogan is no one left behind in the initiative, because we started a very hard thing. We say every person who is contributing to the initiative, no one left behind this great initiative as a team. So we collaborate it together. We divide the tasks. We make things like a very formal things, like and very respecting and team, as a team work together, as a like a networking. So all of that things are our key elements that we use in our field.
mm, network. Did you hear that one, Michelle? Like the network is very intact,
I
and it's
I like I like his I like his slogan, no one is left behind.
behind.
I really like that. Maybe we should keep that, Isaac, for flight wings aviation.
Yeah, in talking about no one is left behind, our junior aviation course is starting on the 13th of July. Make sure you register. Make sure you're not left
Okay,
behind.
Absolutely.
can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can now.
Michelle, your
You were
voice is
freezing a
coming
little bit.
from
Yeah.
very far. Maybe I have the problem of the connection. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, we. I can.
Yeah, it's like I can
Abdul
hear
Rizak.
you, but I cannot hear Michelle.
Michelle, I think she's having her technical issues. But then moving on as she settles in. My question would be, you spoke about how you wanted to learn so that you could go back, and then you could empower and you could make a difference in your country. Like, how do you think you can help more in your country? Like, what kind of contribution do you think you can make, and where do you see gaps in terms of aviation in your country?
Uh, in Somalia, our civil
Yes.
aviation department, yes, our civil aviation industry, we are we come from scratch to, and as you know, we were not able to control our airspace. Since we relocated our control in airspace, and we developed a lot of things. And as you know, aviation has national regulations or National Civil Aviation Act. The expertise, they developed that act. In the act, you need to develop a regulation manual from the ICAO. Based on ICAO annexes, 19 annexes, you need to develop regulations and ratification. Ratification, because ICAO has standards, what is called service standards and recommended practice. Can you hear me, Zach?
Yes, I can. Go on.
So
I can.
that yeah, that standards governments they apply differently.
Ah, okay. So
So
so yeah, go on.
that annexes 19 annexes that includes the service what is called standards and recommended practices. Most of the governments around the world they are not the same in their aviation industry. For example, Somalia and United Kingdom or in United States, America or Canada, we are not the same in the state of civil aviation. So they develop their own, and we are developing our own in compliance with ICAO standards. So what we contribute to our aviation, what I contribute to my civil aviation industry in Somalia is like developing manuals, guidelines, procedures, and policies in compliance with the ICAO standards. That's the
Oh,
main,
okay.
that's the key thing that I contributed to my country or to my civil aviation authority.
Wow, that's a lot of contribution, you know. That's a very lot of contribution.
I
And
apologize, guys. It's just one
Welcome
of
back.
those days, you know? It's just one of those days where the internet tests us.
no, it's
Yeah.
fine. I think we're about to wrap up the show, and then I'll allow Michelle your I think your question to do with inspiring the generation. You can go ahead and ask him.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, I actually want you to suggest our young generation who are watching you and us on Flight Wings Aviation. You know, as we have the young generation, we have less in our aviation industry. And so, what would you suggest them? What would you say to them so you know they are motivated and inspired to come and join the aviation industry?
Yeah. The young generation, they have a big opportunity, I can say, in the aviation industry. For example, to me, I didn't get any platform like agency or like, for example, a flight doing this agency who can consult, who can give me advice to where field am I going to aviation. So I can say simply, the young generation, they have a big opportunity in this time. They can have advice from expertise or from some people who are qualified in aviation industry. So I can say them, please keep watching series of flight wings, something like that. Read books and articles and publications. Also, the young generation, I will suggest them to look. There are a lot of opportunities in aviation industry. For example, ICAO and IATA, they provide a young generation fellowship program.
True.
Wow.
Yes.
Singapore, they provide a young generation program for whom that is special for the upcoming the students who graduated from the high school and are going to the universities who are looking for qualifications in the aviation industry. Even African AFCAC, what we have in Africa, we have something called it AFCAC, African Civil Aviation Commission. Even they provide a fellowship program for for young generations. So I will say, I will strongly suggest to young professionals to keep applications and to keep looking for that fellowship programs, opportunities, scholarships, in order to get a very good scholarship that they can build their dream life in the aviation industry.
Wow.
Also, the one
Oh,
who graduated recently from universities who are still younger and wanted to be part of the aviation industry. And the aviation industry is very big. It's not only related to island or airport or aviation industry. They can be a consultant they can make statistics, they can develop ancillary revenues for the islands, they can have travel agencies, they can have a lot of business in the aviation industry. They can innovate because aviation right now and the landscape of aviation, all of aviation in the world, it's totally different, and it is going to focus more commercial aspect because the governments around the world, the islands, the airports, the corona has impacted very bad. So
Yeah.
what they are trying to do to recover from that impact. So anytime they are trying to innovate in new ideas whom are helping to recover the aviation industry. So one of the opportunities, the young generation, they have a very good brain, they have a theoretical knowledge, they have a passion to be a part of the industry. So they can start to develop, they can contribute to something. So I can say the young generations, they have a lot of opportunities in the field of aviation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Ah,
for highlighting all of those opportunities. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I believe we're also inspired because it's never too late to start anything. If our viewers were listening, he had a path that was different, and then he eventually arrived at a certain path. And I just want to say thank you. I wish you more the best in your aviation career. And who knows, I might wake up tomorrow also and do the same, because all I'm hearing is I'm hearing opportunities that are being taken regardless of age or whatsoever. The past weeks we've been interviewing people who are very young, who took opportunities young, and then today we have someone who was doing something else and then he did something else. And I believe also our director as well spoke about how he had a different path and then it all led to aviation. So aviation is for all of us, it's for all of us. Just avail yourself and everything will work out so well. So I want to say thank you for joining us today. And and one thing that I'll take from today is no one is left behind. Like no one
yes.
is left behind.
Yeah,
So as Flight Wings Aviation, we're saying that be with us, join our junior aviation courses, join our
Yes.
yeah. I
consultancies and everything, and subscribe to this page, share it with your friends, talk to your relatives. Um, yeah, we're not leaving anyone
yeah,
behind. It's
yeah,
2021.
exactly.
We're moving
I can
forward.
say I will say to the young generations, they have a lot of opportunity this time. The all over the world, it's like a one village. They have internet, they have YouTube, they have a platform that some expertise or officers or professionals from the aviation industry they can discuss. And back to my years when I was looking for the aviation, I didn't get any advice. I did not get any event like this or webinar or workshop that is talking about aviation. So now what they have is opportunity, a very big opportunity. They can ask it questions. They can know differentiality in the aviation industry because aviation industry is very big, very broad. So they have out of those opportunities. And our slogan is still exist. No one left behind this flag doing initiative.
Yeah,
I
awesome. Thank
agree.
you
I
so much.
agree. It's really nice. And thank you so much, Abdulrazak. I know your schedule is so busy. And I am so happy for you that you're working as an air transport officer. It was amazing to learn that. And I know your schedule is so busy, but thank you so much for taking the time out for us and from your busy schedule and coming and helping our audience and viewers know that it's never too late to go
Yeah,
for aviation. And just like Isaac said, that maybe, he might sleep today and wake up tomorrow with the decision that he wants to become an aviator. But fingers crossed on
Amen.
that. But I am really inspired by you, and you're a very good friend of mine, and you're a very good aviator. And I really hope that our viewers do see this and they learn something from you. So thank you again for coming and joining us.
Thank you very much for hosting me, for having me this event.
All right. So to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're gonna tune in later, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Yeah,
And from me and the team, Flight Wings Aviation, it is bye for now.
Bye, guys.